win their second straight Stanley Cup.
What's good, everybody? Let's talk some Tampa sports. What a major bounce back for the Tampa Bay Lightning last night after that kind of rough road trip, only winning 1 out of 3. You come back home against the Pittsburgh Penguins and you just show up. You show up for 3 periods, start hot, go up 4-0, end up winning 6-1. That's what you needed. That's the bounce back you needed. 2 more home games after this. Let's get into what happened in that road trip and that bounce back game. So that road trip, I set it up in my last weekly update video. It was going to be tough. Just the opponents. You got Dallas. You got Vegas. That's really tough right there. And then you got Utah, but that Utah game is part of a back-to-back. It's the first game in a back-to-back. So that's not a given either. Clearly. So that Stars game, this was absolutely a game that the Lightning did deserve to win. Extremely close, of course. It went to overtime and went to a shootout. But the Lightning deserved to win this game. Early on in that game, they were all over the Stars. You see 14 shots to 8, 9 to 8, 12 to 8, and then 3 to 0 in overtime, totaling 38 to 24. They were all over the Stars. It was the Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli show, as it's been often this season, and as we will continue to see in this video. They ended up putting up some more points. They're just doing their thing. Major win, though, against an extremely tough opponent at their place. You really can't ask for much more than that. Unfortunately, it's the last game that they would end up winning on this road trip. Before moving on, of course, the shootout itself. A little shaky at first. Wyatt Johnson just had to score his, and the Stars would have won this game. They would have came away with 2 points. Lightning would have came away with 1. Vasi gets a huge save. Cooch gets a huge goal. Vasi gets another huge save on their new signing, Mikko Rantanen. And who does Coop put out there for a game-winning goal? Gage Gonsalves. Gotta give it to... it worked out. It worked out in the end. Post-game, he said, I trust the kid. He went out there, delivered, under pressure. Shout out to Gage. Now these next 2 games, not as fun to talk about. They are a back-to-back, as I mentioned. First game of the back-to-back, the Bullets lose 6-4 to the Utah Hockey Club. If Vasi plays in this game, do the Lightning win? Probably. Halverson made his first start, and it did not go, I know how he wanted it to go, giving up 5 goals. The final goal was an empty netter. But yeah, 5 goals on 25 shots, it's not exactly ideal, not exactly what you're looking for, is it? The Bolts didn't play amazing either, though. They did put Halverson in some pretty rough situations. You see 16 giveaways to 9. So you got that. You only ended up getting 1 takeaway to their 5. So there's some things that obviously needed to be cleaned up, and some things that really have been a story throughout this season when it comes to the giveaways that I keep saying need to be cleaned up, but at this point, maybe it's just who the Lightning are. They're a little sloppy at times. You take the skill that this team has, they're going to try and make plays that maybe other teams wouldn't try to make, and it may lead to a giveaway. It may lead to an amazing chance that leads to a goal. That's just how this team is at this point, in my opinion. You're going to have some giveaways. Thankfully, in the playoffs, you're going to have Vasilevsky, not Halverson, to prevent any of these giveaways turning into major goals. The goals for the Lightning in this one, Braden Point scored on a power play, his 33rd of the season from Gensel and Bjorkstrand. Love to see Bjorkstrand on that power play getting some points. Cirelli, once again, ended up getting his 24th of the season from Hagel. Like I said, we're going to continue to see that combo working itself out. Kucherov with his 68th of the year. That tied the game at 2. At that point, I was like, okay, the guys are finding their groove. They went down 2-0. It is what it is. Just tied the game. It's not exactly how it went. Kerfoot scores. Gensel matches that for his 34th of the season. You're like, okay, tie game again. And then you kind of let it slip. Cooley scores. Schmaltz scores. And now Utah's up 5-3. You're really trying to make a comeback at this point. Point scores his 34th. And you got your chance at the end of the game. You pull Vasilevsky. But they do end up getting that empty netter to make it 6-4. And that was the first of the back-to-back. The second of the back-to-back, not much better in Vegas. Your start was absolutely awful. The Lightning played a great 40 minutes of hockey in this game. That first period was terrible. Vasilevsky made some fantastic saves to start the game to keep the Lightning, to keep it from only being 3 goals given up in that first period. Wah, Hurdle, Eichel. That was brutal. That was brutal. They did turn it around, like I said, playing a good 40 minutes of hockey. Paul scored to make it 3-1. We end up pulling Vasilevsky. They score to make it 4-1. Kucherov gets a late one. But it's you just simply put, I don't need to do too much analysis on this. When you're playing on the road against a team with as much quality as Vegas, you can't just not show up in the first period. You can't not show up in any period. You have to show up the entire way. That just didn't happen, and that leads to a loss. Simple as that. But for that bounce back that I was talking about in the beginning of this video, 6-1 against the Pittsburgh Penguins, who honestly did not look like they even wanted to be playing yesterday. Crosby gets his point to extend his streak to 8, but I mean, those guys, are they tanking? Because the effort, the energy, talk about not showing up in the first period. 11 shots to 4 in the first. Jari gives up 4 in the first period. To Lightning, they end up making a switch and goal. Cirelli from Paul and McDonough. In his 500th game of his career, Cirelli nets 2 of the Lightning's first 3 goals. And, you're like, you have 2 periods to get this hat trick. Unfortunately, it did not happen, but you were really hoping for that the rest of the way for Cirelli. In that 500th game, if you would have got that hat trick, that would have went crazy. McDonough gets a rare one on kind of a weird bounce there. Cirelli scores again from Hagel and Moser. Braden Point gets his 35th of the year. Kucherov with an absolute snipe on the power play after getting his teeth knocked out on a goalpost. He goes down the locker room, comes right back out, comes out on the power play, and just, yeah. And you got to see a little rare shot of emotion from Kucherov smiling after that shot. That was nice to see. He wasn't very happy post-game. If you guys saw that post-game interview where the guy interrupted him, yeah, that did not look very, what's the word? It was a guy who was, probably not in a great mood that he got his tooth chipped. Probably did not want to be talking to the media. A guy who already does not like talking to the media. Kucherov also did get his 100th point of the season. Once again, 5th time in his career reaching 100 points. It's what Kucherov does basically year after year nowadays. And we're spoiled. We are spoiled with Kucherov. Was hoping for that Vasilevsky shutout, but like what often happens, I feel like just too often. Vasi has 6 shutouts this year, I believe, which not a bad number at all. But if we could go back and add the games where they were leading to a shutout and then they give up a weird one in the final 10 minutes of the game, I wonder what that number would be if we could remove those, because I feel like that happens way too often. Maybe it doesn't, I just hold on to them too tightly. Either way, it feels like it happens. Rust gets his 26th of the year to make it 6-1. Either way, Penguins didn't show up. Lightning did. Huge bounce back in the first game of a 3-game homestand. So let's look at the rest of that homestand. We have Utah Hockey Club, Sergachev making his first return to Amalie Arena. Obviously, we just played them on Saturday, lost on Thursday. They'll be getting Vasilevsky. They'll be at our place. I like the Lightning to take care of that one. And then on Saturday, I will be there at that game. Big matchup against the Islanders, who are fighting for a wild card spot. So that will be a fun one there as well to round out this homestand. If you just look at the rest of the season, I mean, that's it. You got a 4-game road trip, a 4-game homestand, and then one final game at Madison Square Garden. That is it. Some solid opponents on here. Like I said, New York is fighting for a final wild card spot. Ottawa has been fairly hot of late. New York fighting for a wild card spot. Then you got Toronto, Florida, New York again. You do get Buffalo twice, hoping that it's not as weird as the last time we played Buffalo. That would be nice, and we can just handle business, preferably. But yeah, that's it, guys. The season is rounding out, and Brandon Hagel pretty much put the message out there, love his leadership, that we need to find our groove going into the playoffs. We should not just try to, go through the motions through the final month or so of the season and then try to snap into it come playoff time. Is the energy going to be higher during that first playoff game? Yes. Are the players going to be more up for it? The fans going to be more into it? Yes. But you really want to be playing with a groove, with some momentum going into that playoff game. You do not want to try and snap into it. That's what Brandon Hagel's message was. I am completely aligned with that. So hoping to see some good wins coming out of the rest of this month. I mean, how many games is there? This is 9 here. 11 games left in the season. If they can win 7 of those, I'd say you're going in with momentum. If you can win 7 of 11, I'd say you're going into the playoffs with some momentum. This is going to be a very interesting matchup here when you look at possibly a game that could decide seeding, a game that could decide home ice. Yeah, April 15th, mark your calendars. That's going to be it for me, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave your comments down below. Any thoughts you have on the Bolts. Excited to read, excited to respond to what you guys leave. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. Go Bolts, and you all have a blessed one.